Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the West Coast Connection. My name is Terrence Holton, and today we have an interesting video that I'm trying out. I'm going to be doing a tier list of teams in the NCAA tournament. Now, we don't have every single team, and I'm not going to be using all these teams. I don't know what these two weird pictures are here, but we're doing from Texas Tech up, and these ads are really frustrating me. But there we go. We're gonna doing about Texas Tech up because none of the rest of these teams are gonna make the tournament. Of just these tiers right here. So we won't make it out of the first round. Early upset likely. At least one win. Sweet 16 maybe. Talk about that when I get there. Elite Eight possible. And title contender. So without further ado, let's hop in and we'll start off with the Duke Blue Devils. Now this is kind of a no-brainer. Duke is the number 3 team in the country right now. They have looked some of the best. Cooper Flag, second best player in the country. They've looked phenomenal. This is a no-brainer. Duke is a title contender. I will likely pick them to win in at least one of my brackets, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I like the Blue Devils this year. Now, Kentucky. I've talked about this team a lot. I've talked about Kentucky a lot. They are a strange team to me because I think that they could either lose in the first round or I think that they will make a Final Four run. Problem with them, they don't play defense. They are the exact same as past years with Calipari. They hired Mark Pope and nothing changed defensively, which I don't love. And I like teams who play defense. So, not a fan of Kentucky. For that reason, big defensive guy. I'm putting them in early upset likely. Now, I've thought about at least one win, but I think if they get that win, then they'll get hot and they'll start going. I don't think they'll make it out of the first round if they play the right team. Moving on, next team, Kansas. This is another team that has really not lived up to potential. Top three, they may have been preseason one. They're going to be unranked. They lost by 36 to BYU last night, a team who I think just solidified themselves into the NCAA tournament. This is should be one of the most talented teams in the country. It is one of the best coach teams in the country, and they stink. They should be a lot better than they are. They just straight up should be. I don't know what else to say about them. Hunter Dickinson, the 42-year-old center who plays for the Jayhawks, should be the National Player of the Year. He's not. So I don't know what to think of them. I do think, and I'm going to put them in this category. I'm going to put them in at least one win because I think they'll win one as like a 6 seed or a 5 seed, and then they'll play a 4 or a 3 seed and get the tar beat out of them. Like if you look back 2021, this team was kind of similar to that. They were good. They were a 3 seed, played well in the first round, played against 6 seed USC, who had Evan Mobley, Drew Peterson. Those guys lost by 36. That was the biggest loss in program history. BYU tied it last night. So I think this team's like that. So I think they'll get one win and then play a superior team and get the shit kicked out of them. Um, just a little formatting thing. I'm gonna rank these. So if at least one win, if I put hypothetically, if I put Kentucky here, if I think that they would get more, they're more likely to be in the next column, then I move them closer, further away, further away. So keeping them that there. Auburn, the Auburn Tigers. This is one of the best teams in the country. This is the best team in the country, led by Johnny Broome, Chad Baker Mazzara, and Todd Pettiford. So many more. This is a phenomenal team. It is the best team in the country. 2 losses on the season. One was at Duke. One was Florida a couple weeks ago, who I'll talk about in a bit. Um, I'm gonna pick Auburn to win it in at least one bracket of mine. This is obviously 3 weeks out from Selection Sunday. But as of right now, this is the best team in the country, hands down. Just straight up, it is. And I don't have anything else to say about them. They are the best team in the country. Wisconsin, another interesting team. Because you see, Wisconsin lost AJ Storr to Kansas. They lost Chucky Hepburn. I'm not really sure where he went, but they lost him. He transferred, and they've gotten better. They've just gotten better as a team. And Wisconsin past couple years, they've been that like pick you make when you want like a 12 or over a 5. You've been like, oh, Wisconsin's there? Yeah, yeah, that's gonna happen. And it's been true. They like last year lost to James Madison as a 5 seed. Um, I'm not feeling that this year. I think the Badgers are better than that. I'm feeling they're gonna get at least one win. I think Sweet 16 maybe. Now, Sweet 16 maybe means at least 2 wins, maybe three, maybe four. 4, maybe 5 wins is Elite Eight possible, but I think they'll get Sweet 16. I think they're down the line a little bit on Sweet 16 possible, but I think they'll make Sweet 16 this year. Alabama, the Crimson Tide. Talked about Alabama a little bit. Obviously, they are one of the fastest teams in the country. They play with the most tempo in the country, and they do it well. And really, I saw Ryan Hammer on TikTok, great college basketball content creator. He talked about how at Alabama's best, no one's beating them. Absolutely no one. Um, their worst, which doesn't happen a lot, but when they have bad games, we saw a few weeks earlier they lost to Missouri, who I'm realizing I forgot to put in this, so I'll substitute someone in for Missouri. Apologies, Tigers. They lost to Missouri yesterday in Columbia. Columbia? No, that's in South Carolina. I forget where Mizzou is. Um, Apologies to my uncle who went there. But Alabama still, they are a well-coached team. They are a very talented team. They play quick, and I think that they will make the Elite Eight. I think they'll make the Elite Eight. Maybe could even make a Final Four run like last year, but I think definitely Elite Eight, and that's where I'd have them right now. Illinois, currently a sixth seed in Joe Lunardi's bracketology. And I don't know where to put this team, to be perfectly honest, because they have looked good at times. And it's, what's funny? I saw that they play Duke in about a week, 2 weeks. What's that about? It's a Big Ten versus an ACC team in late February? Who scheduled that? But they have a chance to, make some real waves in the college basketball world. Don't think it's gonna happen, but we'll see. It might happen. Because of that, close out all these ads when I can. Um, uh, I'm feeling one win. I'm feeling one win, and I think it's more likely than Kansas. I think they're a better team than Kansas. I think they're a better team than Kansas. I don't know what else to say other than that. Better team than Kansas, and I think they'll get one win, maybe two. I don't. They're definitely not making the Sweet 16. They're not talented enough to, in my opinion. If you lose to teams like USC, I've mentioned USC student, you're not going to make it that far. And I'll get to Michigan State on that later. Clemson. Clemson has taken advantage of a particularly poor ACC this year, and it has really worked in their favor. They are great in ACC play. They beat Duke earlier this year, 2 weeks ago, I believe, and I like them. They're a six seed. They play. I was trying to remember. There's like a trapezoid of excellence, excuse me, of how teams play. And Clemson, oh, excuse me, it's the runs. They go on runs. Or they don't go on runs. Oh boy, I'm forgetting the metric that I was looking at. But because of this metric that I was looking at that I'm now forgetting, I think Clemson will get at least one win, but a lot closer to the Sweet 16 side. I am leaning towards 2 to 3 wins for them, but I think at least one win. I can't confidently say Sweet 16 maybe though. Whole point of maybe is meh. But all right, moving on. UConn. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Dan Hurley is apparently a Stephon Castle and Donovan Clingan merchant. Um, yeah, this team, they're going to be 8, 9 seed. I can't put them in early upset likely because I don't think they'll be high enough to be upset really by a team for it to be considered an upset, unless it's like an 8, 9 or whatever. But I don't think anyone would consider that an upset. I don't have good things to say about this team, so I'm going to put them in. I don't think they'll make it out of the first round. Maybe one win. I don't see them going any further than that because I think they'll play like a 1 seed, maybe a 2 seed, lose. Maryland, just watched this team beat up on my Trojans about an hour ago. Great team. One of the best starting lineups in college basketball. Really well-rounded. Front court, the wings, the guards, they're fantastic. Their two players in the front court, Derek Queen and Julian Reese, are two of the best rebounders I've seen. Both they combined for like 31 rebounds. I think they out-rebounded USC in the game that I was just watching earlier tonight. Great team, and I like the Sweet 16 for them, and I like them more than Wisconsin. Maybe I shouldn't because it's like recency bias, but I like them a lot. Texas A&M lost to Mississippi State earlier this week. Bracketologies had them as 2 seed. I don't know if I believe that, and I never really did. And I don't, they're a good team. I don't see them going past the Sweet 16 though. I have them higher than Maryland and Wisconsin, but I don't think they'll go past the Sweet 16. I think there are better teams who will make the Sweet 16 than them. I think they'll fall to a 3 or 4 seed. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see about Texas A&M. I mean, I think they can make a run the SEC tournament, but the SEC is so loaded that you can't really, you never really know. Maybe this is all SEC bias though. Maybe the SEC actually stinks, like in football. We'll see. That's what I'm hoping for. Michigan, the Wolverines. Excuse me. Another good team beat Purdue last week, as I mentioned. I'm thinking. I'm thinking on this team because they're very solid. They're a very solid team. Obviously, Dusty May coming over from FAU. He's really turned this program around from what Juwan Howard had them as. So credit to him. I believe they're a projected 4 seed right now in Joe Lenardi's bracketology on ESPN. I do not think they are better than Maryland and Wisconsin, though. And I'm going to put them in one, at least one win, leaning towards two. So I think they'll, yeah, I like that. I'm leaning towards two. Baylor, another team who has dropped off the face of the earth. They have VJ Edgecombe, top lottery pick, who shades of Scoot Henderson. We'll see about that. I'm positive Scoot guy, but we'll see. Another team that's fallen from grace. Another team who I could see winning one. I think they'll get at least one win. I think they're well coached enough and more talented than UConn where they'll get a win. And I do think it's the least likely of any of these teams to get at least one win, though. So they're bordering on that line, you know. Um, Houston. I love Houston. They have shades of 2019 Virginia, but they don't have three guys that Virginia did in Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy, and DeAndre Hunter who could get you a bucket at any time. They have LJ Cryer who can, and blanking on his name. But they're a phenomenal defensive team, which is why I really like them. I love teams who play defense. I mentioned this a lot. So I don't think that they're a title contender. I do think they're Elite Eight possible, but I think they're lower than Alabama on that list. Florida, third best team in the country right now. I don't have a lot of negative things to say about this team. As I mentioned, they beat Auburn in the jungle less than 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and I'm forgetting. But great team. Walter Clayton obviously leading at the point. They had an awesome game last year against Colorado where they scored 100, but the Buffs just outscored them. It was a phenomenal game, awesome watch. I have them as title contender. This is a really deep team who rebounds the ball well. They score the ball well. They do everything well, in my opinion, and I think they're a title contender. Michigan State. Mentioned this briefly earlier. I do not like teams who have lost to my USC Trojans. They have a really deep bench, this team, and they obviously the coaching experience with Tom Izzo. I don't know if I'm sold. They don't shoot the ball well at all. They rank 347th in the NCAA last I checked. But they score inside really well, but they don't really have a number one scorer. They kind of do, but not really. They just have a bunch of guys. This is my problem with Gonzaga earlier in the year. They have a bunch of guys who will give you 10, no one who can give you, if you need it, 25 points, 25, 30 points, which you need on a real contender. And I'm going to put them, wow, I think I'm going to stack the Big Ten in the Sweet 16 maybe section. I think they're better than Wisconsin, not better than Maryland. And I think I might be recency biasing on Maryland, but they look really good. They looked really good when I saw them play earlier tonight. Just overall, they were a really complete team. I think I'm gonna put them there. Speaking of teams, of Big Ten teams, the Purdue Boilermakers, Matt Painter's squad, they haven't really missed a beat without Zach Edey. They're not as good for sure. I mean, you lose a National Player of the Year, you're obviously going to drop off, but they're still a good team. They're still, I'd say they're the second or third best team in the Big Ten. I think they might be the best. They're the best team in the Big Ten. Right now, they're the best team in the Big Ten. Obviously, they lost to Michigan State, and they lost to Michigan State. I'm recounting my words, putting Michigan State ahead of Maryland. Just narrowly, though, narrowly. But Purdue is going to slide in right here. Yeah, Purdue's going to slide in right there in the Sweet 16, maybe. Yeah, no. They're going above Texas A&M. I think they have that ability to make. They're well coached. They're defensive. They do. things right that you need to win basketball games. And I think they'll make the Sweet 16, maybe even the Elite Eight, maybe. Iowa State, another team I really like. They play great defensive basketball, but they haven't really been able to score the ball all that well. They've had definitely really dry periods, and I like them a lot, but I don't know where to put them. It's either Elite Eight possible or Sweet 16 maybe, and I think I'm gonna go the high end of Sweet 16 maybe because I think they'll make the Sweet 16. I don't know about any further. I don't know about any. So yeah. All right, Texas. Texas, kind of a bubble team right now. Joe Lunardi currently has them as the one of the last four buys. I don't know what to think of this Texas team. I don't think Rodney Terry's a particularly good coach. He had that kind of Linsanity run 2 years ago, and they just kept him on full time. They got Trey Johnson, excuse me, who will go top 10 in this year's NBA draft. But when a freshman's your best scorer, it's not always the best. I mean, he's a great player, but he doesn't do everything particularly right. He needs to work on his three. I know obviously Flag leads Duke, but there's so much more than that. And Texas isn't that much more than Trey Johnson. Someone to put him won't make it out of the first round. I think they're more likely to make it out than UConn, but not really close to at least one win, in my opinion. Oregon Ducks, boy, this team has dropped off a cliff. Wow, they went from beating Alabama. They've lost like so many. They've lost like four or five in the Big Ten. They're losing games they should. They should win, excuse me. It's the complete opposite trajectory of usually where Dana Altman teams go. Usually they start out kind of low and then they peak towards right around now, actually, like right around late when we're about to get to conference tournament season. Um, I think because Altman's a good coach, and like I like Jermaine Couisnard. I like wait, not Couisnard, sorry, he's not on the team. I like Bartholomew. I like Jackson Shellstad. Love him. I like Nate Biddle. And I like Dane Altman. They're gonna get one win. And I think they're more likely to get a win than Kansas. I maybe that's a hot take, but I think they'll get one win. I don't think about it anymore. I don't think if they play a superior team as like a 1-2 seed, I don't think they'll get that. Marquette. Another team that was really solid out of conference, but since getting into conference play in the Big East has not been good. And I do not like Shaka Smart teams. I don't think he's a good coach when it comes to March. He can never win big games. And I don't trust him as a coach. Obviously, there's a lot of talent there, and they've shown that. I don't like Shaka Smart as a coach, and I'm putting them in the upset likely. Second edition of the upset likely chart. Excuse me, grid. I just I don't trust him. And I think they could maybe make like the Sweet 16, make a run. I don't like Shaka Smart. I just straight up don't. Tennessee, another great defensive team. Ooh, oh boy, where do I put this team? Because they're either another team that swings early upset, early day. And I think Elite Eight because they're a good team. They play second best defensive basketball in the country. I'll get to my best in a bit. I see them coming up. I like Zakai Ziegler as a point guard. I like their team. They're experienced at all levels. Yeah, I've convinced myself of Elite Eight. Wow, very SEC bias up here. Call me ESPN College Game Day. Ah, just kidding, ESPN. Please hire me someday. Um, yeah, I'm leaning them, and they're a good team, and I think Elite Eight. They've shown the strides. Maybe Sweet 16. It's tough. It's really tough for me. Gonzaga. Yikes. Wouldn't want to be a Zag fan this year. Boy, have they dropped off. I chat on them earlier in the year, and they have lived up to my pre-shitting on them. I was doing it before it was cool. Now everyone's doing it. This team is a bunch of guys who'll give you 10, 12 points, nothing else. They have not shown anything that they can succeed against good teams. They have struggled in the West Coast Conference. The best thing they have going for them is a bunch of close losses. And some of them aren't even particularly good close losses, like UConn or Kentucky. So for that reason, they are going into the won't make it out of the first round, and they are bottom of that tier. All right, moving on. The Ole Miss Running Rebels, the Running Rebs. Another good team out of the SEC. I'm trying to think about this one. I don't know because the SEC teams blend together, in my opinion. I know. But hand up for sorry guys. I know I haven't been keeping track of Ole Miss. Six seed currently projected in Joe Lunardi's bracketology, and I think they'll get at least one win. And I think they're better than Illinois and Oregon. Yeah, and I'll put them above Clemson too, because I don't think they're better than Michigan, but I do think they're better than Clemson, especially two six seeds. That's three six seeds I have in the at least one win column, and I think that they are the best of the six seeds. So I'll keep them there. I like that ranking. The last six seed in Lenardi's bracketology is UCLA. Another interesting team. Great defensive basketball team. A lot of guys not a lot of guys, three guys who'll give you 10 points. They don't score the ball that well. They have gotten a lot better as the season's gone. They went on a little slide in January, and since then have really improved. They were, I think they're fringe top 25, maybe should be top 25 right now, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. Um, and I'm gonna put them at the end of this. No, I don't think they're the best. No, no, excuse me. Hold on. At least one win. At least one win above Clemson, not above Ole Miss. Those are the six seeds right there. Ole Miss, UCLA, Clemson, and Illinois in Lenardi's ESPN bracketology right now. But yeah, I like that. St. Mary's, the Gales, another team that looked decent out of conference, has not looked great in the West Coast Conference. WCC has really dropped off this year. I love to see it as a longtime WCC hater. Um, and currently projected like a seven seed, I believe. I don't think they'll make it out of the first round. No, 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 no. I think they'll get at least one win. Yeah, I think they'll get at least one win because their style of basketball, they have proven they can beat decent teams. Um, and I think they're better than Gonzaga. Don't think they're better than Baylor. I will put them below Baylor. They are teetering, walking a very thin line of that won't make it out of the first round in at least one win line. St. John's Red Storm, the Johnnies. I have hyped up this team for a couple of weeks now. I mentioned the Tennessee plays the second best defense in the country. St. John's plays the best. Straight up, they play the best defense in the country. Rick Pitino's team is nasty. He's a phenomenal coach, and I have them in Elite Eight possible above Tennessee. I don't think they're as good as Houston, just because I think Houston is overall more experienced at the level of making tournament runs. This St. John's team is not. They are still uber talented. My problem with St. John's, I mentioned this in my column if you read that, they have what I call Virginia syndrome, which is they can defend like nobody else and they cannot shoot the ball. They shoot 29% from three. It is horrendous, but they still win games despite this. Against Xavier earlier this year in overtime, they shot 1 for 12 from three, 8%, and still won. So, granted, Xavier's not one of the best teams, but I think St. John's is a great team. Being able to pull off a win in this like era of basketball, hitting 1-3 at any level, in my opinion, is impressive. So I'm still taking the Red Storm to the Elite Eight, honestly. I think minimum Sweet 16 I'll put them just because of the defense. They could also be an early upset. I don't know because of that Virginia syndrome, like I mentioned. Memphis Tigers, a decent team, a decent team, a decent team. I'm going to say that one more time. A decent team, nothing more. Penny Hardaway's a fine coach. They play in the AAC. They don't play anybody. They're going to win the conference, and I'm going to put them at least one win. But I think, once again, straddling that line, and I'm going to move that St. Mary's back up again, straddling that line of won't make it out of the first round, and that. All right, we're coming up on our final four teams here: Arizona, Mississippi State, Creighton, and Texas Tech. Just because I'm not doing not all these teams are going to make the tournament. I mean, they suck, they suck, they suck. Maybe they suck, maybe kind of suck in my opinion. Maybe on a heater, suck, suck, suck. Yeah, that's what I meant. All right, but Arizona, huge resurgence after having a pretty poor out of conference play from the Wildcats. They've really come back. A three seed in Lenardi's current bracketology. Tommy Lloyd, great coach. Caleb Love in his 30th year of college basketball. A lot of great talent on the team. They always have a big, tall, like Ukrainian or Eastern European guy. And I'm forgetting on his name, but he's good. And I'm putting them in the Sweet 16 column. I'm putting them in above Purdue, not before Iowa State, though. I think they'll make the Sweet 16. I don't know about further. Mississippi State pulled off a big one against Texas A&M earlier this week, and they were currently a 7 seed, I think, in Lenari's bracketology. I think that's a little disrespectful. I think they're at least a 6 seed, maybe even a 5. And for that reason, I'm putting them up here in the Sweet 16, maybe. I think that's a team that could shock a little people, make a run. I think teams like that from the SEC could. I think they're actually the best team in Mississippi, which I know there's only really two teams that contend with, but that weird ass state. So, where do I put them though? Let's see. It's tough. I don't think they're better than Wisconsin, so I'm gonna keep them there. Yeah, I think that's correct. I think I have all my 3 seeds in here and as well in Lenari's bracketology. I got one, two, three. No, there might be a 2 seed. I don't remember. Three, four, maybe. Who knows? Creighton Blue Jays. I think Creighton's going to get at least one win. I'm not going to elaborate on this too much. I think they'll do more than Baylor, but they've been good in the Big East. They're a solid team. They're well coached. Greg McDermott, and I picked them to make the Elite Eight a couple years ago when they were 6 seed. It was 2 years ago, I believe, and they did it. I could see it happening again. Great team, not great team, good team. We'll contend for the Big East for sure in the conference when conference tournament season comes around. We'll see. We'll see. I like them. And the final team that we are going to get to in this bracket tier breakdown. Maybe I'll do another. We'll see once we get closer to tournament week. Um, but the Texas Tech Red Raiders, and I really like Texas Tech. I really do. They look great in the Big 12. They shoot the ball so well. I mean, I'm talking like 45% as a team. It's crazy how well they shoot the ball. Obviously you can be streaky and that can be concerning, but high offense teams in this era of college basketball have a tendency to continue that in March. And I'm gonna put them above Texas A&M and Purdue, or yeah, because you know what? They just lost to Arizona. I feel like it would be unfair if I put them there, even though obviously it's not neutral ground. Um, but yeah, that's gonna do it. That is my our that is my college basketball tier list right now. Obviously, this is subject to change. A lot is gonna happen in college basketball in the next 3 weeks. We got conference tournament about 3 weeks from today is when the major ones start. It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait for it. Um, yeah, I'm gonna come back here. And thank you for tuning in, everybody. I got my March Madness tweet behind here from John Rothstein. We sleep in May. We're coming up on that year. It's about to be that time of the season. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and have a good one.